women's point of view. And as always, here to elevate the cannabis industry. I'm one of your hosts, Ice Dawson, cannabis socialite.
And I am Dashita Dawson, the weed head.
Hi, sis.
Hey, sis.
Hey, sis.
How's it going?
Oh, my gosh. I mean, we came live, but it's a lot going on right now.
On today's episode of She Blaze, we discuss why decriminalization is just as important as legalization. Our eyes are all glued to the states that just passed cannabis initiatives. We won big, but now it's time to get to work.
Okay, you already know I have been talking about this all week, so that leads me to jumping right into our high of the week. And my high of the week has been essentially the We Won, Now We Work series. I've been doing IG Live every single night since the first election night, because we obviously still have some things going on right now. So yes, you can join me every night at 9:08 p.m. Eastern time on IG Live. It's just join me, some of my friends. I got a few really important cannabis pioneers and thought leaders that are CannaFam, and in addition to my own family, and we of course have this platform. I'm excited to bring that to IG Live every single night. I got thoughts. I got blunt thoughts. We've got a lot even going on right now, Ice.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for tuning in. We know the news is going off and off and off because there is a projected winner finally after almost a week of counting. And for me, my high of the week is a little different. You know, there is a lot of things that's changing in America currently. And Georgia, my home state, one of my home states, they are changing. Blue, baby. And they actually, for the first time ever, have a 2 Senate seat runoff.
Wow. I mean, well, first of all, we got to give our flowers to
Stacey Abrams.
Okay.
And all the other wonderful Black women that helped us get to this point.
Yes, absolutely. And, I'm excited because, I don't know, I think it's uncovering that we got to do things a little bit differently. I am still a little bit nervous, though, because, of course, this administration, the current one, the outgoing one, we believe, right? This administration has been leading up this story that all of these ballots and all of these votes are somehow invalid. And I have a little bit of concern, I will say, about how this is all going to shake out, because we know he's never going to let it go. And he's already vowed never to concede. And so I'm excited that we were able to show the efforts from Stacey Abrams, just on the ground activation and 2 years of strategizing. She took a L and turned it into a W for a lot of people and for us, really.
Absolutely. But the work does not stop. It's got to keep going. So January, if you are in Georgia, you haven't register. We know as many votes as we can get. This is really important because we want to see some progress federally. And so we're going to give you a quick, hot episode so we don't glue you away too much from the news, because we know y'all watching. And let's get into our first hot topic.
Okay, what is it? Let's go.
Well, believe it or not, even with all these elections going on, they are still looking at different bills to pass through Congress. Mm-hmm. And currently a bill that would ban cannabis scholarships for the NCAA and other colleges is being brought up into committee. Right now, the bill is called the Student Athlete Level Playing Field Act, and it is a positive type bill. It was presented by Republican Senator out of Ohio, Anthony Gonzalez, and he also had other co-sponsors that are from both parties. And it's something that we all want, but it is very limiting. We want the athletes to get money off their name. Colleges make a lot of money off of them, a lot of boosters, but it's looking like they want to ban cannabis.
Wow. So wait, just to clarify, we're not talking about scholarships. We're talking about sponsorships, right? We're talking about,
Sponsorships,
I
yes.
just want to make sure we're talking about the ability to do what the schools already do. NCAA, all of the sports, but particularly football, basketball. These are multi-billion dollar businesses, and they are making a lot of money off of the students. And they're using the idea that you get free tuition, which ultimately is just really a six-figure deal at the end of the day for those students, as the reason that you're not allowed to then make more off of your capabilities and your stardom. I think the internet has definitely changed the way we got to think about it, because these young folks are getting into the YouTube and having followers on TikTok well before they've even gotten to college. And so they already have their own audience. They already have their own followers. And they should be able to capitalize the same way the school can put together a deal for the sneakers, for the gear, and it's a multi-million dollar deal for the school. The students should be able to capitalize. I am a former D1 athlete, and all I can say is, from my perspective, getting a scholarship, which, by the way, Ivy League does not do that, so Princeton did not give me a scholarship for basketball. When you do get a scholarship, though, and you go to a school for that, in some ways you're a slave to that organization, right? If you decide you don't want to play basketball, I did, and you quit, then your whole money situation gets real jacked up. A lot of students are living hand to mouth. They're below the poverty line. I feel like it's necessary. But here's where you got me really, really effed up. The fact that they're already banning cannabis. It's like, why?
Well, they're banning tobacco as well, but this is just the bill that they're looking at. It's not to be passed or not passed. So if it's not passed, it can always use some revisions. Yeah. And I believe that there are a lot of things that's passing in cannabis right now that may need some revisions. And so we move on to our hot topic number 2, particularly about Ohio and its cities approving cannabis decriminalization. Now, believe it or not, 18 jurisdictions in Ohio have decriminalized cannabis. There's a few others that joins them after this election. That is Aden, Jacksonville, Trimble, and another city that I gotta check back in on, y'all.
I think it's Gloucester. But the sad part is that we're still doing this decriminalization by counties. We know that happened in Georgia, and it's like, okay, you drive out of the county, you could get arrested, you could get 5 to 10. And at the end of the day, it's still disproportionately impacting Black and brown folks. That's exciting. Decriminalization is important. Part of decriminalization has to be re-education of the law enforcement. They have to do something different. Otherwise, it's not really decriminalized. I remind everybody that New York has been decriminalized since the 1970s. Yet, over the last 40 years, they have arrested more people than any other state in the country. So we all got different definitions of decriminalization.
Absolutely. And these municipalities' definition of criminalization is really just creating it to be the lowest level fine the law will allow. What does that mean? At the end of the day, we know that fines add up. And if you don't pay them, you could get in trouble for them. So why won't you just decriminalize it minus the fine?
What? Yeah, decriminalization, in my opinion, means freeing the plant. Stop trying to control how much someone has on them and when they have it. This is a medical state, by the way. And so this basically says, if you don't have your medical marijuana card in Ohio and you don't have it on you at that, you have a potential of getting a fine. And if your money isn't right, your coins aren't tight, you may actually wind up getting the fines backed up, and that can lead to a warrant. It's like any other fine. When you owe the state, they will come after you.
Well, truth. But we are excited because these are some of the baby steps leading to other great things. And so I want to get us into our hot topic number 3. Keep with it because we're going through it fast, y'all. And our hot topic number 3. Now, I was a little rocky about this hot topic just for the simple fact that I believe that people like to lump cannabis and psychedelics all in the same bubble. And as you explained to me as a scientist, they are not actually the same thing. And so, I still, though, felt like we needed to talk about it because decriminalization is really important. And so Oregon and DC actually passed bills that decriminalize psychedelics.
That's a golf clap. I mean, it's not really a golf, it's a big clap. But the fact of the matter is, like, one, cannabis and psychedelics are not the same. You can have psychoactivity and not, cause different levels of hallucinogenics and things like that. But it's not necessarily bad. We know that psilocybin has some really, really good medicinal benefits. And at this point, I feel like this is what needs to happen to be able to study it. Same as cannabis, they have to free the shroom, if you will, and ensure that we can actually study it. But Oregon did one better. They actually wound up doing the entirety of all drugs being decriminalized. So going forward, you will not be arrested for drug use.
Yes, they did. They were like, oh, we're going to do psychedelics. Bet. Let's just take it a step further and decriminalize all of the drugs, which I think is really important because we talk about it all the time. We love to give the history on the war on drugs, which ultimately did hurt Black and brown people. Cannabis did initiate it, but even further, criminalization of doing drug use was a huge battle. It's how people are in jail still to this day. 3 strikes, you're out kind of thing.
Absolutely. And it's unfortunate. And it's still mostly Black and brown folks. And in Oregon, Black and the indigenous population, this is something that has certainly plagued their population in terms of the percentage of usage. So this bill is going to be life-changing. One of the things, though, it is a little bit controversial because it does utilize the cannabis tax revenue, right, to develop drug treatment and support initiatives. And we know that that's needed, but we didn't have any opportunity in Oregon yet to capitalize on cannabis equity for Black and indigenous and brown populations that have been disenfranchised, disinvested in over the last 40 years. It's been prohibited. So it seems funny that you decriminalize all drugs and you're like, oh, but we're going to go to the cannabis revenue tax to take and solve for it. It was a good idea. The good news is, luckily, we've been able to circumvent some things. Can't wait to announce some things in the next couple of months based on the work that we've been doing. But overall, kudos to DPA. They led the move on this. And, I think at the end of the day, it's going to prevent a lot of Black and brown folks from, being incarcerated, and also to hopefully equitably get the support they need on any of the real drug issues that are happening within Oregon. Hopefully they use cannabis because cannabis is actually good for that.
Absolutely. And I mean, if we're talking about indigenous populations, they have their own natural herb that they use to help medical and mental abilities. So I am really curious to see how Oregon comes and educates the world on drugs, especially because we are not seeing this in any other state, essentially.
No, this is precedent. Oregon is setting precedent, and even better, it is, quickly trying to learn as we go. I'm excited. I have so much that I have to share in the next couple months. So
absolutely. But DC does get tricky, you guys. We just want to remind you, DC is a territory, aka kind of like a city, versus a state. So, when you're not in that DC territory, it may not be decriminalized. So, take that into account. It got really tricky as far as coming to cannabis and decriminalization and legalization being in DC versus, are you still in Maryland? Are you still in Virginia? Those property lines get real tricky, just like politics. So stay vigilant, do your thing. But I think we have to just go on into our main topic because, cannabis did its the thing, baby. You can't tell. Yes, you can't tell me nothing. We learned about cannabis faster than we learned about the president.
Yes, in terms of where we stand and what has happened, cannabis won big. But like I've been saying all week long, we won. Now we got to get to work.
I know that's right. Well, we definitely have to get to work, but we did some predictions and we just wanted to go through the line because this is really important. And we're going to start with our medical marijuana market. Mississippi, y'all, they got cannabis, real cannabis flower before Georgia. Y'all don't understand how heartbroken I really am inside. Like, we Black Hollywood and we can't even smoke no weed.
Legally, you are funny, but that was a mistake and a miss in Georgia. So that, unfortunately for Georgia, but fortunately for Mississippi, this is a big win for them because this is a progressive bill that passed.
Yes, and they passed the correct bill, which is Initiative 65 with 81% favoring it. So,
that's a landslide.
That is, and it is an amendment that will allow medical marijuana to be provided by licensed treatment centers, and it will be regulated by Mississippi State Department and enforced by them as well. This is really, really some great things, you guys. They actually wrote in their bill that the fee would be only $50. That's the only state fee that they have to pay. It also will, they're written that it will reimburse you with your medical care coverage.
Wow.
For your cannabis usage. Mm-hmm. Now, this is, again, where politics get a little tricky. They love capping us. And so they cap people at 2.5 ounces per 14 days.
How do you do the math on that?
Right. Well, the math got real tricky around there. However, at least it will be able to be in any place, really, because zoning provisions made it so that retail dispensaries shall not be more restrictive than other licensed retail pharmacies. We talk about it all the time on She Blaze. Stop restricting access. Stop opting out. If you have a pharmacy in your town, you probably need a dispensary too.
This is facts. I mean, we talk a lot also about where they're placed as compared to schools and parks and the like. And again, I think it's all grounded in the negative, disposition, negative thought process we have around cannabis. It's still medicine. And if you don't care where CVS is, which, by the way, you can make mess from the things you can get from CVS. All right. Lord. Don't get me started.
We know,
I know. Right. But no, if you don't care about where the CVSs are, then you really should not have that same restriction for cannabis dispensaries, especially within a medical program. This is what we consider a very progressive medical program out the gate, especially for Mississippi. But most of the states that legalized medical first, they came out the gate like New York. There was no flower. New York just had some back and forth on a little dry ground, dusty flower that got pulled from the shelves because one customer complained or something like that, because she didn't want to see flower. Like, okay,
you got too much time on your hands, lady.
Yes. But the fact of the matter is that we have to watch to see, again, still, this is a good regulatory framework. It's at least open enough that doesn't make me feel worried, but we need to watch to see how, one, Black and brown folks are going to be impacted.
Absolutely.
Mississippi has arrested on average 2.7 times more likely Black folks compared to white folks for cannabis possession. It's a state that we definitely should be concerned about the equitable access as well to the market.
I agree. Just to talk to more blunts and stuff, question about cultivation and processing, zoning provisions will allow other medical marijuana businesses to not be more restrictive than other comparable size staff lawful commercial industry businesses, straight direct from the actual bill. So if you are any part of the medical marijuana treatment program, whether you're cultivating or processing, you will be able to have a little bit more flexibility where you could be zoned.
That's excellent, because they're struggling with that in mature markets. Like, the retail spot is the thing that everybody rushes to get, and it becomes part of the competitive set. I don't know whether or not they talk about how many licenses they're going to have yet.
They did.
Okay, let's share.
Yeah. Well, I did not pull that.
Oh, okay.
Doing a quick episode, but the bill is very meaty.
Okay.
It's long. Bills are very, very long. And they're meaty, but they have the licensing fees. Mm-hmm. They talked about when they ideally wanted start dates. They gave descriptions about the caretaker program, because they have one.
That's excellent.
So, please, I will empower you guys to go and check out the bill on your own, because we only got so much time. A lot of states passed cannabis laws this year. And so I want to go to another state, which is South Dakota. It passed both of their cannabis ballots, which was medical use and adult use at the same time.
Yeah, and you had to pass the medical use in order for adult use to pass as well. So congrats to South Dakota. South Dakota is actually the 10th state in the country as far as racial disparities and arrests for cannabis possession. So again, when we talk about legalization, we're not just talking about creating a market. We're talking about also changing the way people are being policed and or harassed in some ways that live there.
Absolutely. And I think it's powerful because what we see with all these states and all these bills, people brought their initiative forward. People brought their own legislation forward. They did not allow the lawmakers to really form their own model bill around what cannabis should be. And though South Dakota isn't the greatest place, they do have some pretty cool things in their bills, which is that, they allow your medical marijuana card to be reciprocal. So you could come from a different state and use it. You can also hold 3 ounces of cannabis on you, as well as cardholders will be able to possess a minimum of 3 plants. So we are seeing home grow, which is really important.
I think it's necessary. I'm not saying I'm going to grow, but I feel like there's no reason that you need to control how I make my medicine. And so I hope New Jersey's listening, but South Dakota definitely has some good things. Anything that's reciprocal, when you do that, you are opening up your state for tourism and having a market that is going to be a cannabis tourism destination. So that's exciting.
That is exciting, especially because, they did also pass their adult use. So if you are 21 and older, you can have 1 ounce or less of cannabis on you without fear of a ticket. So, that's that. They also will allow people to grow and possess cannabis plants. They haven't really specified it, but you will be able to grow and have cannabis plants at your home, which is really important because South Dakota, I think we drove through there once upon a time. It's not much.
We can hope that they create something around cannabis economy can build a lot of different things. And so I'm excited to see what South Dakota pulls together. It is cool, though, that you can do adult use home grow. A lot of states are scared of it, mostly because the multi-state operators keep lobbying to prevent it. So we got to start calling them out. You cannot control the consumer market. Otherwise, it will never leave the legacy market. That's just how it works.
That is factual. Now we talked about medical adult use. Let's get into Montana because they had a medical marijuana program for a minute. Most people do not know, especially people that look like me, because I don't know about you, but I don't go to Montana, okay?
Well, you shouldn't, because if you do, you are 9.6 times more likely to be arrested for cannabis possession. It is the #1 state in the country for racial disparity. So, okay.
Right.
If you're on the street, Black, you probably getting stopped. That's what that means, because they don't got no Black people there.
Right.
It's like 5%, 4%.
Yes, you are right. So it's like they get you on the drive through the state. Like you like, how'd I end up in a Montana jail? Drove through the dang on state.
You're like, it's a Black person. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, they actually passed 2 initiatives. So the initiative 190, they allow you to have 1 ounce of cannabis on you, 8 grams of concentrate. They also will allow people to have no more than 4 marijuana plants and 4 seedlings. So you actually get to have a total of 8 plants, 4 being in veg and then 4 being in flower. And it must be, though, enclosed space away from public view.
These things sometimes are funny to me. I'm sorry, I'm a mathematician too sometimes. So I was going here doing the math as they talk about what was it?
Seedlings versus
No. The 8 grams of concentrate versus
the ounce of flour.
How many ounces of flour?
1 ounce.
1 ounce. So I know they think that they're giving you a comparable amount, but on a concentration level, the amount of THC you're allowing someone to have access to with flour, 1 ounce of flour, is like minuscule compared to the amount of THC you're allowing someone to have access to with 8 grams. So whoever did this is not Count Dracula. They literally was confused. They did not know about potency. They do not know how to calculate cannabinoid potency clearly, because this is lopsided. They maybe was listening too much to Cal and Method Man, and an ounce sound like a whole lot. But when you're only at 20 to 30% of your cannabinoids at highest level, you're not getting a lot in an ounce, as compared to concentrates start at 65% and higher, some of which are easily 70, 80%. And you got 8 grams of it. So good luck.
You're gonna be high.
Sorry.
Yes. Well, they did write their start date in the ballot, which is January 1st, 2021. So you can start growing next year on the 1st.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was pretty
cool.
We
visited Montana. We need to call our cultivation technologists and be like, let's put some seedlings down in Montana.
Let's not. When we get the real strip on the border of some other state.
Listen, I could do a compound in Montana. I almost feel like I'm gonna be like, it's that land of the free part that gives me pause.
Listen,
come arrest me.
Don't.
They can't. Yay, that's what legalization does.
But anyway. They said per house, it's not per person, because you gonna have to have your own 4 plants. I need my own 4 plants.
We'll be like Big Love. We just have to have our own houses.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, with their initiative 118, this one allowed that a person over the 18 years of age would be able to possess legal cannabis and alcohol. So they just lumped them together. So if you're 18 and up in Montana, you could smoke and drink, vote, all that.
Basically, they feel like if you could get credit, you can kill people, you do military, you can vote, you should be able to do some other things. I agree. I think also it is good to point out that other states that have done 21 and over adult use, that 18 to 21-year-old gap is highly hyper criminalized. Like the percentage of racial disparity, especially like in Oregon and some places, Black and Indigenous is like double digits. So we've got to be careful about hyper criminalizing the segment that is actually the most important time of your life, and it would actually jack you up pretty fast.
And it's the time that you're like, I don't want to call you dumb, but it's the time that you have, you care less about the risk.
Agreed. Yeah.
So that was Montana. Now we got to go to 2 states where we have Monster March, which is Arizona, and their Proposition 207, which is a little different from the one that they had in 2016. But this one had big money and it passed big, with 59% of the vote saying yes. Now, this just legalizes possession for 21 years or older. You are permitted to grow no more than 6 cannabis plants in the residence, as long as they are locked and closed from public view.
This whole public view thing is driving me crazy, but it's baby steps. It's one of those things where, like, I guess, what do they think is going to happen? Like, all of a sudden somebody's going to see the plant turn into a ravenous beast, jump over to try to steal and go into criminality. It's like,
in Kentucky, they will.
Yes, but it would be him.
Yeah. Okay. Because y'all still elected Mitch McConnell. Good job.
That's the gag. But no, the fact of the matter is that I don't appreciate being forced in closed doors. And, at the end of the day, it is what it is. That's not something you got to pick your battles. That's not something I would battle for. But I do think that they did pretty good. I thought it would pass by a lot more. I thought more people would vote for it, like in the 70s, right, based on where the last Proposition 206 was. But it passed. I'll take it. And, shout out to all Latifah. We're growing.
Right. Well, I also believe that they're ushering in their medical marijuana licenses, which, will get people up and running. I am excited for Arizona. I think that their bill is a little bit better than Nevada's bill. Mm-hmm. So, they're in that little cluster right there. I think it will bring a lot more attraction to the state.
It absolutely will, but they already had a pretty great, on the scale of comparison, medical marijuana market, very large population of medical marijuana patients, a little bit on the expensive side when you talk about $50 for Mississippi, but it was the case that you were not really missing anything in the assortment, like New York is missing flour. and good edibles.
Everything else. Everything you need to get by.
Or to just even feel like you had a real shopping experience. It's not homogenous. And you're like, oh, it doesn't matter what I choose because this the same oil. That's the same oil from right here.
Right.
Like it's
all the same. And it's kind of expensive.
Very, actually. And Arizona is not. That's another thing. It is really, really well priced. Now, this market for adult use is going to have to deal with the 16% excise tax, which is very expensive, but in the range of where everybody else has been, except we about to talk about New Jersey. New Jersey's coming through with the low tax.
Yes. On to New Jersey public question 1, which passed with 67% of the votes. Ooh. So, New Jersey is your crew. So just break down the facts for them.
Well, I'll be fast because we will need to shut this down quickly, but we will follow up. And you can join me at 9:08 p.m. on my IG Live. We won and now we work is what I've been doing every night. And I've been breaking down New Jersey. First of all, New Jersey is basically already off to a great start. Deanna Waynow is the new Cannabis Regulatory Commission chair. This young lady, Black girl magic, all things personified. We are giving her flowers. Yes. She is the real deal Holyfield. I've been saying that. ACLU stint. She's an attorney. And when Governor Murphy finally got into office, she quickly became his special counsel, clearly showed up and showed out. And now she is the chair. Jeff Brown, we knew he was going to probably be involved. He's the executive director. And so that's the A team right now. And they've got to pick, I think, 4 more commissioners for the Regulatory Commission. At the end of the day, equity has got to be first. She has said so. And we testify tomorrow, right? Because they have already started to introduce enabling legislation. So yes, on Monday. So they have had some conversations in the past. They didn't pass, right? The Senate legislation did not pass. And so now we are looking at trying to figure out how do we make it right? Because it's still not good.
Right. Well, that is some exciting news. There's so much excitement in America. I'm like excited, but I have like a huge mountain of anxiety.
Yes.
So we did not want to take too much time explaining these things. We've been through all the politicking for these last couple weeks, breaking it down to y'all. So congratulations to those states moving forward, and hopefully other states will follow the leader and be better. Yes. And thank you guys for joining us.
Yes, I'm going to just kind of say again, 9:08 p.m. I'm obviously paying homage to my soror. Yes. Okay. But yes, 9:08 p.m. Join me on IG Live at Dashida Dawson, and we will break down more information about what's happening around the country as far as cannabis is concerned. New York sounding like they're trying to come up again, but this is the 3rd time. And guess what? New York's bill still has a ways to go as far as cannabis equity is concerned. So let's see if Cuomo's ready to really do it.
True. Well, hopefully next week we come back with a little more tea than the politicking. I'm ready to get to the tea part because now I'm curious what companies is doing what.
Yes, we will know because of course the cannabis industry is always talking.
Hello, and I got the Google alert. So make sure you join us every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can follow us at She Blaze on Facebook and Instagram, and watch us, listen to us anytime on Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, YouTube. We everywhere.
We are everywhere. And I hope that everyone has an enjoyable week. Now we got to get back to these results.
Right. I'm ready. Bye.
Bye.